High finance is a world of privilege, crisp suits, inherited confidence, and private schools. Gary Stevenson from Ilford, East London, was none of those things. His parents worked ordinary jobs, and his world was far from the glass towers of Canary Wharf. But Gary had a gift, a mind for numbers, a hunger born from scarcity. At the London School of Economics, he was an outsider, but his background gave him a unique edge. He saw economics as survival, not theory. While others played by the rules, Gary saw the system's cracks. The financial world wanted new players, and Gary was about to force his way in. He just needed a door to open. Citibank was on the hunt for something different. They weren't just looking for candidates with the most impressive credentials or the shiniest degrees. What they truly wanted was raw, unfiltered talent, the kind that can't be measured by a GPA or a list of extracurriculars. They needed someone who could thrive in chaos, adapt on the fly, and make tough decisions under pressure. In the high-stakes world of trading, it's not about who looks best on paper, but who can keep their cool when everything is on the line. Their answer? A trading game. But this wasn't just any game. It was a carefully crafted simulation, designed to strip away the safety nets and reveal who could truly handle risk. The game was ruthless, unpredictable, and demanded quick thinking. It was a test of nerve, strategy, and resilience, where every decision could mean the difference between triumph and disaster. For Gary, this was more than just a competition. It was his one shot to break into a world that seemed closed off to outsiders like him. He walked into that building with a mix of nerves and determination, knowing that everything he'd worked for was riding on this moment. Gary didn't leave anything to chance. He studied the rules inside and out, analyzing every possible scenario. He prepared for late nights, for setbacks, for the unexpected. When the day came, he was ready, not just with knowledge, but with a mindset built for battle. As the game began, Gary played with fearless aggression. He took calculated risks, never hesitating when the stakes were high. Every move was bold, every decision deliberate. He wasn't just playing to survive, he was playing to win, to stand out from the crowd. The final round was a true test of character. The odds seemed stacked against him, the pressure mounting with every passing second. It felt almost as if the game was rigged to make him crack, to see if he would fold under the weight of expectation. But Gary refused to back down. Instead of playing it safe, he doubled down, showing nerves of steel that impressed everyone watching. He stared down adversity, unflinching, and made his move when it mattered most. In the end, Gary didn't win the game itself, but what he did win was far more important: the respect and admiration of the room. His courage and composure under fire set him apart from every other candidate. A senior banker stood up and declared Gary the true winner. Not because he never lost, but because he never broke. He proved that he could take a hit, recover, and come back even stronger, a quality more valuable than any victory. That's what Citibank was searching for: someone who could lose millions in a single day and still have the grit to get back up and fight. In the world of trading, resilience is everything. Gary Stevenson, once the outsider, had passed the ultimate test. He'd shown that he belonged, not just because of his skills, but because of his unbreakable spirit. With his golden ticket in hand, Gary stepped onto the trading floor for the very first time. It was the start of a new chapter, filled with challenges and opportunities he'd only dreamed of. The real game had just begun, and Gary was ready to play. The Citibank trading floor was chaos. No suits, no silence, just a sea of screens and shouting. Stevenson landed in the foreign exchange pit, a world of lavish bravado and wild rituals. Hazing was a rite of passage. He once bought 100 burgers for the floor. Brokers wooed traders with wild nights and lavish perks, but Gary soon set his own rules: Nando's only. The place ran on adrenaline, ego, and often cocaine. Management was invisible, HR a myth. As long as you made money, anything went. Problems were settled on the floor, not in offices. The only rule: bring back treasure. It was a pirate ship, and Gary was now part of the crew. Trading was relentless. Gary's day started before dawn, scanning markets before most people woke up. By 7 a.m., he was at his desk, bracing for the morning storm as billions moved in seconds. As a short-term interest rates trader, he borrowed and lent money on a planetary scale, making bets on entire economies. At his peak, he moved nearly $1 trillion a day. His trades could shift markets. He rose fast, Swiss franc trader, then euro, then yen, the most coveted seat. Afternoons were for strategy and politics, evenings for recovery. The grind was total, the stakes immense. Every day he cycled home, exhausted, ready to do it all again. On the trading floor, everything boiled down to one number, your P&L or profit and loss. It was more than just a figure on a screen. It was your reputation, your future, and your sense of self-worth, all wrapped up in a single, ever-changing number. Every tick of the market, every trade you made was instantly reflected in your P&L. It was the heartbeat of your career, pulsing in real time, visible to everyone around you. Every day, a digital leaderboard ranked you for all to see. Your name could soar to the top or plummet to the bottom in a matter of hours. The entire floor watched these rankings obsessively, knowing that your position determined not just your status, but your future at the firm. It was a public scoreboard, a constant reminder of who was winning and who was falling behind. Your worth was measured in millions, sometimes even tens of millions. The numbers on the screen weren't just abstract. They translated directly into power, influence, and most importantly, money. For many, it was intoxicating. For others, it was terrifying. Gary thrived in this high-stakes environment, quickly earning a life-changing bonus at just 23. The bonus wasn't just a number, it was a symbol of having made it, of being recognized as one of the elite. For someone so young, it was a ticket to a lifestyle most could only dream of. The system was brutally simple. Make the bank money, and you got to take a cut. Sometimes that cut was hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. The bonus pool was the ultimate prize, and everyone was fighting for their share. It was a zero-sum game. Your gain was someone else's loss. This relentless competition drove traders to take wild risks, pushing boundaries and sometimes crossing lines. Colleagues became rivals, and every interaction was tinged with suspicion. The pressure to outperform was immense, and the fear of falling behind was even greater. The pressure was constant. Every tick of the market could change your fate in an instant. One bad trade could erase months of hard work. One lucky break could catapult you to the top. The volatility was addictive, but it was also exhausting. Jealousy and paranoia were everywhere. Whispers in the hallways, sideways glances in meetings. Everyone was watching, waiting for someone to slip up. Trust was rare, and alliances were fragile. The P&L was both a prize and a prison. It offered the promise of wealth and recognition, but it also chained you to your desk, always chasing the next big win, never able to relax. The numbers could lift you up or drag you down, sometimes in the same day. For Gary, it was the key to a new life, but also a gilded cage. The rewards were enormous, but so were the sacrifices. The higher you climbed, the more you had to lose. Success brought its own kind of isolation. In this world, you were only as good as your last number. Yesterday's hero could be today's cautionary tale. The chase never ended, and the stakes only got higher. Every trader faces disaster. It's not a question of if, but when. The markets are ruthless, and sooner or later, they test everyone's limits. For some, it's a slow burn, a series of small losses that chip away at confidence. For others, it's a single, catastrophic event that changes everything in an instant. For Gary, that moment came at just 23 years old, when he was still new to the high-stakes world of currency trading. He was ambitious, hungry, and convinced he could outsmart the market. The Swiss franc was his chosen battleground, a currency known for its stability, but also for its sudden, unpredictable moves. Riding high from a string of early wins, Gary felt unstoppable. He doubled down, betting big on the franc, certain he'd read the market right. But then, out of nowhere, the Swiss central bank made a shocking announcement, slashing interest rates and sending shockwaves through the financial world. The move blindsided everyone, even the most seasoned traders. In a single week, Gary watched in disbelief as his positions unraveled. The numbers on his screen bled red. By the end, he had lost $8 million, more money than most people see in a lifetime, gone in a matter of days. The news spread quickly. On the trading floor, whispers followed him everywhere. Colleagues who once envied his success now looked at him with a mix of pity and relief that it wasn't them. Desperate to recover, Gary pleaded with the risk managers to let him hold his position, convinced the market would turn in his favor. But the risk team had seen disasters like this before. They forced him to cut his losses, shutting down his trades before things got even worse. The lesson was brutal and unforgettable. Being right about the market's direction didn't matter if you couldn't survive the wild swings along the way. In trading, survival always comes first. The market doesn't care about your ego or your predictions, it only cares about risk. The loss could have ended Gary's career. Many traders never recover from a blow like that. But Gary refused to let it define him. He spent long nights alone in the office, replaying every decision, determined to learn from his mistakes. Instead of breaking him, the experience hardened Gary. He realized that the real rules of risk weren't just about numbers on a screen. They were about understanding the psychology of the market, the limits of your own resilience, and the strict discipline demanded by the bank's risk controls. He learned that in the world of trading, survival is everything. You can't win if you're knocked out of the game. Every decision, every trade is about staying alive for the next opportunity. That $8 million loss became Gary's true education. It was a lesson he could never have learned from a textbook or a mentor. It was paid for in real money, with real consequences. But Gary came back. He returned to the trading floor, not as the reckless young gun he once was, but as a more disciplined, more dangerous trader. One who understood the cost of risk and the value of survival. The scars from that debacle didn't weaken him. They made him sharper, more focused, and ultimately far more formidable than before. After the 2008 crisis, governments claimed recovery, but Gary saw the truth. Inequality was deepening, and the system was rigged for the rich. In 2011, he made his boldest bet, not on a currency, but on the decay of the global economy. He wagered that the middle class would shrink, wages would stagnate, and central banks would keep rates at zero. Colleagues thought he was mad, but he held firm. When disaster struck, like Fukushima, his position soared. By year's end, he was Citibank's top earner, having made a fortune betting on weakness. He'd seen the rot at the core and turned it into profit. But the victory felt hollow. He was profiting from a sickness he could no longer ignore. By 27, Gary was a multimillionaire, and miserable. The thrill was gone. He felt complicit in a system he despised. When he tried to quit, his boss threatened him with legal ruin. Citibank wouldn't let their star asset walk away. Instead, they exiled him to Tokyo, paying him to do nothing, hoping he'd return to the game. For 18 months, he was a well-paid ghost, kept silent and sidelined. But Gary fought back, bombarding executives with disruptive emails. Eventually, a management shakeup gave him an opening. He negotiated his exit, the details hidden behind legal walls. Finally, he was free. The golden handcuffs were off. Leaving banking was like stepping off a speeding train. Gary struggled with the quiet, but found a new mission, explaining the real economy to ordinary people. He launched Gary's Economics on YouTube and began writing, determined to expose the truth about wealth inequality. He argued that inequality isn't a bug, it's built into the system, a mathematical certainty. The rich use their assets to buy more, leaving everyone else behind. Now Gary is a renegade economist, using insider knowledge to challenge the rules of the game. His story proves the economy is made by people and can be changed by them.